your gateway to the future of innovation and technology. Dive into the exciting world of software where cutting-edge tech meets creativity. Explore no-code solutions that empower businesses to thrive without traditional barriers. Hear inspiring stories from tech pioneers and industry leaders who are changing the game. Join us on Tech Bites and transform the way you think about technology and business.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. My name is Dan Hafner. I have another special guest for you guys. We're going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about growth. I have someone who's launched over 250 B2B tech launches over the past 8 years. It's going to be really, really interesting if you're in that stage where maybe you haven't even built something yet, or you are building something, you're in that growth stage. There's going to be a lot of gold nuggets here in this episode with my new friend Grady that I'm going to bring in here in just 1 second. But before I do that, a little bit of a different start to the show today. I'm coming up on episode 400, you guys. Like, this has been quite a journey. It started way back in 2018. Kind of had some ups and downs with this show, but we're definitely on the upswing now. We're getting more and more popular. So I am coming out very soon, probably starting around episode 400 or so, with a new solo series. This can be called the No Code Advantage. So for those of you who don't know what I do no code software development. I have an agency called Dapper No Code where we build those types of things. And this whole series is going to be all about that, starting from zero, assuming you know nothing, next to nothing about software, no coding, building your own thing. And it's called the No Code Advantage because that's obviously what I teach and what I do with my clients. And it's going to be a 10-part series, kind of going A to Z through this entire thing. So be sure to stick with the show, subscribe, like this, leave us a rating. That's always helpful, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And we'll be promoting this and launching this here very, very soon, around episode, probably like I said, around 395, 400, something like that. Because I have some interviews in the backlog here that we're going to get going. But I'm really, really excited for this because I think this will be really, really helpful for a lot of you that listen. So with that being said, my self-shameless plug to start is over. So be sure to tune in for that. But I am going to bring you guys in to meet Grady Teske. He's a fractional CMO, and he's the founder of Rising Tides Marketing. And as I mentioned before, he's led over 250 B2B tech company launches in the past 8 years. Guys, that's wild. Like, when I saw that little sentence, I was like, okay, Grady, you got to come on and talk because you got some knowledge, son. Like, you're going to drop some gold nuggets on us. So welcome to the show, Grady. How you doing, man?
I appreciate it, Dan. And I'm excited too because, you can't really work in marketing and tech without doing a lot of no code yourself. So no code is something I'm passionate about. Builders that work in no code. I've also, besides the marketing work, I've also launched a couple of products built on no code workflows. The key of doing 250 launches over 8 years, you always be executing, right? So you've always got to be like putting out product launches, seeing what works, and being quick to reject what doesn't and kind of scale and grow from there. So, yeah, you're totally right. I think it's being a fractional CMO, having that experience, building the teams that launch products, and then building strategy off of those teams does give you the opportunity to have a lot of shots on goal. But at the end of the day, for everybody who's watching this and thinking about building a product, thinking about launching, a product launch is as simple as getting something completed, the most basic version you can get completed, and then telling people about it. Everything beyond that is just scaling the amount of people you're telling it to, the volume and the quality of the content that you're putting out there with it. So you could start product launching today. And, I've also used Product Hunt, other resources for myself. One of the valuable things I've learned there is you can launch one product multiple times. So that's my core message to founders too, and to people building no code, is there's no date that comes up, circle on a calendar that this is it. No, from the moment you start making it and the moment the first workflow works for you, put it to people. That's the beginning of your product launches. And then from there, it's just a series of stages. So yeah, thanks for having me, Dan.
Yeah, no, this is exciting. That's already great stuff. I mean, like, I think that's very interesting, having multiple launches. You just because you launch something once and you maybe fall on your face or it doesn't go the way you want, that doesn't stop you from doing it again in a couple of months. It's amazing. I think as business owners, I think a lot of us like forget how goldfish minded we are as human beings. Like we forget so many things. Like I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people about had a conversation one-on-one just like this, like, oh yeah, I built this product and I did this thing. And you talk to them 3 months later and they completely forget. It's like they have no idea. And I'm like, we talked about this for like 30 minutes, bro. Like,
Yeah.
it's amazing. So yeah, and there's always the old adage in
And
sales of, sorry.
I was going to say too, the thing that's wild about that is if this is the type of personality that you are, this is what our information entertainment culture feeds on today. You know, people that are consistently launching. I think about Levels.io, who's an ex-user. This man is known to just have launched a vast amount of products using AI. The products, you can use products or businesses, whatever. They're all just simple, singular workflows, but what he does show you is the power of creating distribution by using products as a resource. So this is another kind of, I think, really important thing that for particularly a lot of people that watch your show really should learn is that like you launching these products, having that goldfish minded approach is really the best way to start and scale businesses, because really there's so many opportunities for singular service businesses out there. And if you're launching that, you're committed to creating diligence around yourself, like watching at how am I doing this? What is my messaging? And you're always building the users and the audience there into a list, then you're going to have infinite amounts of shots on goal. Because what happens is if you haven't checked out Levels Don on X, I would check him out because look at his bio, the products that he has. He's had great products, and now it's just product 15 on his whole list, and the MRR and that is probably something around like 25, 50K a month, which is great. We love that. But because of the fact that he's always producing, and his idea is, let me just make all these simple businesses, it just creates distribution for you to continue to scale and follow your ideas and either niche down on one that really works, or like they are, become these vast multiple entrepreneurs. And we're kind of in that stage right now where these are the heroes of the day. These are the people that are sitting up on the podium. So
Yeah, and I love that you keep bringing up the term shots on goal, because I think of like the Wayne Gretzky quote, you miss 99% of the shots, or 100% of the shots you don't make, not 99.
right.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't make. Okay, so I usually save this kind of question towards the end, but let's hit it right out of the gate. What of your 250 plus, launches, what would be, if you had to boil it down to like some of the big key themes, like what are the biggest, maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 biggest things that you've learned personally over the course of seeing and all this experience, all these launches? If you could boil it down to a couple of things, what would you say they would be?
The biggest key. So again, I have a straight B2B background, but I do have some exposure because I've worked in fintech for about 4 or 5 years, including multiple crypto and Web3 cycles. I worked in deep tech. I'm industry agnostic. And before I worked in B2B tech, I worked in B2B hard goods for over a decade, building sales, marketing, and distribution subsidiaries for global companies in the Internet of Things, safety, and communication space. So it just gave me this perspective that why I love questions like this is because my main value is breaking businesses down to like really core, simple factors. And for every good business unit that you're going to build out, it ultimately comes down to like a few core things that'll determine your success. Your diligence and ability to collect users, customers, whatever you want to call them, into a database, right? That's number one. How many product launches have you done, if you're watching this, where you've launched it, you've built it, you've got the email list, it might be in Substack or whatever else, and then you never pulled that list back into something else? Like that is a major thing. These are now fans of you, followers of you, your product, that you can either buy into that or build onto it or go to another one. So always be capturing the data, putting into a list. And then number 2, really the main thing that is works for product launches is think about building and owning the distribution around the launch itself. So I think when people think about product launches today, you think about seeing that post on X or LinkedIn, or the YouTube video that grabs your attention because it really shows what the value of the product is. So everybody's core function focused, their value prop focused, those things really don't matter early on because, again, it's about shots on goal. The thing is, you see that post when it hits 10,000, views or whatever. What you're not seeing is the months of building that email list, sending messages to the people on the email list that we have this thing going on. We're now going to be promoting it with this post on LinkedIn or this post on X. It's the building of that behavior that comes to the second stage, which is always be looking at how am I communicating with the people that are interested in my product, and how am I continually focused on expanding, deepening, and aligning those conversations, right? If you're hyper focused on those two things, what you're building is a user base that's always going to be owned to the idea of you or the business, however you put it. It's not product focused, it's not product specific. So what that then allows you to do is get to the point where over time you've created all these posts that might have failed, these launches that might have failed, but they gathered a little bit of interest here and there. And now you've got 1,000 followers that when you make the video, the content that works because you know that X users have seen it, you've got the value prop that makes sense. You can push it to 1,000 people, that'll help promote it to 10,000 people. So if you really want to talk about the key strategy to building up a strong launch, it's those two things. Be really super hyper vigilant about who's interested in you, why they're interested in you, and really focused on creating, deepening, and aligning those conversations. That really builds a strong business, not just a launch. And at that point, if you're building something that you're hoping to get investment for, or you're hoping to scale out, you have the underlying principles that are investable. You don't have just a good idea and a strong X post. You've got something that can go from a $1.5 million investment to a $5 to $10 million investment at X valuation. So, it's doing the hard work.
Yeah, no, I like that because that's like you said, it's industry agnostic. That applies to whatever you're doing, whether it's like you said, if it's a small workflow you're doing or an entire SaaS application or whatever it might be. Interesting. Have you seen any, I mean, this is kind of the hot topic of the day. Have you seen any, big uses for AI, or does AI kind of get in the way? Is it not smart enough or useful enough at the time, or what's your stance on all that?
Oh, well, it's Rising Tide's the team that I'm building now. So last year I spent some time thinking about the business model that I worked, specifically about who I wanted to work with and what makes them successful. And I realized I really enjoy building teams, strong teams that become businesses. And I started to think about how can I take the principles of the fractional CMO work I do at like Series A, when people are staffed, they've already launched, they're stronger. How do I put that into early stage companies? Well, the answer is using AI and technology, right? That's the only way to get more computing power, more manpower, more conversations in at earlier stages. So we launched Rising Tide this last year, focused on how can we take these unique conversations, unique to your business, unique to your audiences, but help companies build systems that automate and scale that. So what's powering a lot of that? It's AI. We use AI for automating analytics and driving the system forward, a lot of the labor part of it. And then we also use AI constantly to be researching with our clients within our industries on what is not just the things that are interesting to our end users, that gets us the right content, helps us shape the content. But also what's really important is today everyone in tech is really reliant on social media and digital marketing. Well, one of the co-underlying factors of those is if you want to be successful, you have to follow by the rules of the content creation. It's no longer good enough to have a good message and have inspirational thought. That can take you so far. But to fit a good post into X, there's a very clear format. There's clear structures. To build videos on YouTube, you have to have an SEO focus. You've got to have packaging. So using AI to inform how to package and create your content is as valuable as using it to drive the automation focus. So we use that heavily within clients. And I think it's not hyperbole to say that within this year, we've been building AI agents that help automate and drive clients' launches and businesses. Within this year, we're going to start to launch client-specific AI agents. And within the next 3 years, I think most organizations will have internalized AI agents to run large portions of their marketing management, sales management, as well as operations and other things. So yeah, I think it creates both an opportunity for all of us, particularly in the no code space, because if you think about what we do in no code space, we're constantly just putting blocks together. And now you've got something that can power those blocks and scale them on a level that we couldn't before, So yeah, I don't know, but I think the sexy answer that everybody wants is like, yeah, AI has allowed us to like create content and run social handles that really drive growth. It's exactly the opposite. To be honest, I think because AI has created that environment, it's actually created the opportunity to grow and scale your business using social as a tool, but through these direct conversations. Because we also see that the algorithms are so focused on driving users towards entertaining content that if you're looking to scale and use it as a conversion-based tool, it's no longer a good channel to do so.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It's you got to play the game that the platforms are wanting you to play. You have to, content that's optimized for YouTube isn't always optimized for X and Facebook and that kind of stuff. So that's interesting. Okay. So another question, kind of switch gears, but like a lot of people talk about, and I think you talked about, tools like Product Hunt, things like that, or using those types of platforms that are built for product launches. Do you see a lot of people have success with those? And second part to that question is, what are some of the other ones that people might not know about that would be like, hey, I'm going to post my thing on here, I'm going to drive traffic through here, or see if I can siphon off some traffic for my product. Is there anything other that you've noticed, maybe other than Product Hunt?
Yeah, so first of all, this is a multi-phase question that could go on for a long time, but I'll try to break it down to two simple approaches on it. On the one hand, you're talking about topic-based SEO, which I'll get into in just a second. Now, on the other hand, you're talking about the communities, using communities to launch. Those are the two big things. If I break it down, take the labels off of them, because Product Hunt in itself has really become just a strong community to put tech products out, especially if you've got products that are for the tech community itself, because that's everybody that's in the Product Hunt ecosystem. So if let's look at communities for an instance and looking about how we use communities to launch. So this is one of my favorite ways to do it, because within a community, just like any business channel, any vertical, there's dynamics, channel power dynamics. There's partners in there that you can work with to scale and get your message out. There's heroes, that you can use to evangelize. So there's lots of resources. Of course, the first thing you want to do is look at, who do I think my intended users are and where are they? And then you look to develop which are the communities that you can launch in. So again, let's use Product Hunt as an example. When you go to build out on Product Hunt, one of the first things that'll happen to you is as you start to build a profile setup, you're going to get outreach by a lot of Product Hunt specific marketing resources. All these really are people that they've made their business helping you inflate a brand on Product Hunt. Within every community, there's individuals like this, people that want to be as high to the top of the ecosystem as possible. So they're trying to spam the message and be involved in all the conversation. So you find those people you really find the ones that from a tone standpoint and from what your product does fit where you're at. And you can partner with them to start to get penetration within the space. Then it really comes down to also, I think the core thing most people forget about when they're using something like Product Hunt or a specific community is going directly to the top and finding out what resources you can get from the platform itself, whether it's a Facebook group, going to the moderator, understanding what their focus is for the community and how you can align the intent and what opportunities for you to promote from a top down, and then finding those players that are the heroes to push it out from the top up. So those work really well. The key there, though, is you can't rely on that community or platform to drive your whole launch. You can get the users and the interest, but you've got to find a way as quickly as possible to get the email address, capture them in your database, and own the conversation with them. Because just remember, again, every community has a different focus. The moderator, the owner of Product Hunt has a different focus than you, and their focus usually is driving engagement in the community. So it's just leverage that behavior, use it to your advantage. Those are great. And I think the key takeaway would be spend some time trying to find out where your potential users are, and then get there and be as good of a helpful citizen as possible. One way that I find, I'll use another example. On Reddit, for instance, Reddit is a great platform, as well as LinkedIn now with their submitted answers, to create authority around you being an expert, a helpful advisor around this thing, whatever your product does. So getting in there, making posts about that, driving interest around the value prop and the function it solves and the benefits of it will do a lot to create that authority around you. And then as you've done that, then you can drop the conversion link at some point, and then you'll have a lot of people that are like, oh, he got interested in this because I saw him talking about it and how it helps for so long. So that's one key way to do it. The flip side is all of those platforms, all of those communities that we just talked about, Facebook, Reddit, Product Hunt, Quora is another great example. They do it with the second part of this, which is SEO focused content. So if you spent time in these communities on these platforms, filling up pages, filling up posts that demonstrate the value of the product and the solution it solves, Google ranks that. And the easiest thing that you can do to own search terms around your product as you're scaling out, be a good faith actor, not doing conversion-based posting, just sharing those things. Doing the product launch on an official platform and your website, so that your website will float up in the Google rankings. So you'll have your website, all the Reddit work that you've done, the Quora work that you've done, and then cap it all off by making a really good quality video, and then you own the YouTube space in it. So this is how you then find SEO focused traction towards your launch. And what is SEO all based off of? Intent. Right? All of search is based on intent. So you think about that's a really great way to put yourself in front of people you can't find based off of what they want to do. So here we covered two main things. If you can build towards trying to lock in intent, that's one way. The other thing is find the audience. And if you can continue to oscillate, how do I find intent? Who are the people using it? Focus on those two things, and you've got a good ladder to climb to grow your business, scale your launch. It's as simple as that. It's a lot of work, but it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, what did I tell you guys? I told you there'd be some gold in this here hills. This has been awesome. Well, we're not done, but so when you were saying that, it was very interesting to me because I think Reddit, LinkedIn, Quora, those types of things are gold mines in themselves for customer feedback and really kind of looking at things outside the box and kind of being analytical in a way of, okay, what's this person like? What kind of thing would this person really use? I was actually just at an event last week, and this lady had a very cool idea it was a podcasting event. And she had a very cool idea of how to automate these types of things, where she almost had like a Zapier Zap that would run, and it crawls Reddit. And maybe this is a product idea for you guys, because I don't think she has software for this, but this is cool if you guys are looking for an idea. It crawls Reddit on certain keywords and posts, and then it would take a post that would capture some of that, and it would feed it into ChatGPT with a prompt that says, come up with podcast ideas or offers around this, or content ideas or whatever, and then just put it out into a Google Sheet.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is freaking genius. I had never, because I know that there's so much on Reddit, on Quora, on these things, and you could search, and there's threads and everything you can possibly imagine. So how do you filter that? How do you go through that? And when I saw her just like that simple 3-step automation, I was like, holy shit, like that's amazing. That's so cool.
I think it's a really good indicator too, Dan, of where we're headed to. And again, this probably isn't as pertinent launching a product today, but it is really important, if you're, especially in this space, if you're in the no code and you're in the build small workflows, launch businesses model, which I love. Thinking about how we're changing user behavior, I'm going to just go on a quick diatribe. So hang with me for a second.
Okay.
We've already passed the peak of the social media era. Digital B2B tech itself is over 40 years old. I think people need to stop thinking about tech as being like a new industry built off of hype launches. We're not. We've also got massive distribution channels that are already out there. We talked about Product Hunt, Crunchbase, things like that to build awareness. And What's really changing now is search was the dominant form of the early internet, right? How do we figure out where things are, where's good information? Search moved on to social really quick. And then social search was eventually replaced by algorithms that drove interest. And so if you could game the algorithm, you could actually beat the search funnel, right? Well, now the algorithms are entirely focused on entertainment. So if you really think about it in the context of entertainment media, social networks are now in the mid 90s. All the content that's out there, but what do people want? They want reality TV and they want like nonstop infotainment news shows.
Yeah.
Think about that and think about your social media feeds and what they look like. So where does it fit in for somebody who wants to create value created content? You've got to go to where the new search is, and AI is definitely where search is coming, because AI is basically non-algorithmic search in user intent driven search. And this is another key takeaway here. So to the point you were just saying, how can we create for today, but build for that long tail of the future? I think anybody who's looked on Quora knows, and Reddit knows, it's filled with products that have valuable posts from 9 years ago that are still converting users today. Well, good quality content wins. If you create content on those platforms that are built on an index model, which is Quora, YouTube, and Reddit today, Facebook also indexes pretty well. Put it onto those platforms and drive good faith awareness around it, pushing your users to go through the post, continually going through and doing replies, weeks, months, years later. Those things will continue to be a large value driver. And as more people search through AI, it's going to do exactly what you said. They're looking for the good content that gets them the answers. So create the quality of content. Know that's how search is changing. And the other flip side of it, really quick, that I want to touch on, all of our digital experiences is becoming much more personalized, and we're less reliant on needing the large platforms like Google, X, Facebook, etc. Those are things that we're going to do for entertainment. But just like you said, the predominant use of AI today is user-driven, like information, user-driven content creation, user-driven coding. It's all user-driven down to the individual. And as we continue to see AI expand, my belief is that's the way we're going to see all of our digital experience going as well. So again, how do we get in front of that? So on the content side, create good quality content. That's the most important thing. Put a lot of time and effort into thinking, what's the best way to say this? How does it make sense? Make it clean, put it out there. Do it regularly. The other side of it is going back to where I said at the beginning. Focus on who are the people that you're talking to, making sure you're locking them in, making sure that you've got a way that you're communicating on a regular basis. You can see that communication. You're going through and analyzing, how can I expand and deepen this? Because that's going to make all of your experience a deeper, direct communication to your users and their referrals, and you're going to control and own your growth. That's what I call distribution. And that's what we should be as business owners. We really ship two things, product and distribution. And in my humble opinion, if you get distribution right, you get lots of shots of product. So focus on distribution.
Yeah, I've heard that saying with I don't remember where it was years ago. Somebody said, the first time business owners are worried about the product and the perfection of it. The second time you're around, it's all about distribution. Like it was like a quote, something like that. That's interesting. I mean, this has been very I just love the clarity and the simplicity around how you're explaining this. I'm really glad I brought you on. So since we're on a podcast, it dawned on me to ask maybe, have you seen anybody succeed with the avenue that you're going? I interview a lot of SaaS founders on this show. You can go back and look at all the different interviews I've done over the years. I love to highlight them on here. Do you see, is it just another platform, just like YouTube, just like Facebook, where you have to game the system? Have you seen, do you have success stories of anyone who's used podcasts to successfully target and launch? Like, okay, tell us about that.
Well, I think it comes down to once you establish and distribution, and I mean here, like, again, we're talking about building out over time. Getting started, having good principled focuses on it is a key. It will always scale. You don't need to be getting to a point to start to throw in fuel to the fire. But creating authority driving content, which is different than what we just talked about. That's conversion-based content based on good faith explanation and product solution stuff, right? Authority then allows you to take your next step and scale to the masses. When you're ready, and I would really push all of you to think about it in this perspective. If I was all of a sudden able to create a post that had 10, 100,000 people that like really got off of it, came in and signed up, am I capable today of doing anything with that?
Yeah.
The answer for a vast majority of people is they start seeking hype and authority, and they eventually fade out because they're not able to commit. I said I worked in fintech. I can tell you so many stories of founders focused on hype, built out massive investments in the billions of dollars, and never were able to ship product.
Yeah, it's like building a skyscraper with no foundation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, and I'm doing this exact thing right now, working with Dan here, is we've got a strong distribution network that's built from this podcast. When it's released, I can actually take the links for this. I can send it out to 100 users at a time. I can send it out to 10,000 users at a time. I can build individualized messages, and I can send out sequences on it. So I have the ability to take advantage of it. When you're ready to scale it, even at the hundreds point, it makes sense to create authoritative content as well that will develop an anchor around you and the brand as being a knowledge leader in the space. You can do that for free on LinkedIn and on Reddit through the thing we talked about before. On LinkedIn, you can specifically do it by building awareness around your personal handle, tying it back to the brand company page that you have. You can do it through their resources on submitting answers and showing that you have expertise in the field. And then you can also do that. You can cement it further by taking those same exact messages, getting on a podcast within the right audience space or with somebody that has authority, and then using that same message on that space to pull back to those answers. For instance, had I made a really good post on Reddit earlier this week about what we just talked about, I would have told you to check out what my handle is, and it'll come back. You'll be using this platform then to drive people to your conversion-based message. So that's the way you want to think about building out your content journey, which you're ready to start once you've got the distribution underneath to take advantage of it. What does that specific opportunity, where will it help? Will it help with audience reach? Or is it really going to be putting me in the mindset where I can be talking about the value we're doing, showing that I truly have the authority and know the space that we're in? So these things are really, I would say, phase 2 for a lot of product launches. Continually be launching, building up that email list, launch your own newsletter so you can retain them. And then that's another great point too. Once you have the newsletter, connect with Dan, get your product and your idea in front of a bunch of people, push it back into the newsletter, have everybody in your newsletter go to YouTube, watch that video and upload it. This starts these cycles that are building traction around your model and your idea, which continue to expand you further out. So this is, again, nothing in marketing is overly complex. But at the same time, I think it's really funny when tech says, well, marketing really isn't relevant. I'm like, your whole business is marketing, whether you call it marketing or not. It's really finding out and scaling that and creating that distribution.
Yeah, because the last thing we want to have happen at the end of the day is, and I see this all too often, is you can have the greatest product in the world. You can have the greatest business in the world. But if nobody knows you exist, it's not relevant. It doesn't matter, You could have the cure for cancer sitting in your drawer over here, but if no one knows it exists, it doesn't do anything for the world. So it does, and I think just putting it out there, having those multiple, like not being willing, hey, this one didn't go the way I wanted. Let's try again. Let's not let that. Let's learn from it. Let's tweak it. Let's do something different, and then being intentional, about everything that you've said and kind of having those plans in place to scale. Because I've had that exact thought that you just mentioned of, well, shit, if I had, 100 people sign up for this service that I have right now, there's no way we could do this kind of thing. I remember going through that in the early stages. So I had to learn to okay, now how do I, if that did happen, what would have to change, and being intentional about thinking about those things. So this has been great. This is all.
I will say too, Dan, sorry to cut you off, is that I also want to say that I have an execution bias. The reason I've done 250 launches is because we don't do strategy. We just launch and then we figure out what's happening and then we drive it out. You can really build strategy for a company post 3 to 6 months of getting positive acceptance on an MVP, right? But before that, strategy is just throwing garbage at the wind. But I do want to say though, with that model, if you get the opportunity to get onto podcasts, to get onto, to start to create media, or you get pulled into a quote situation, take advantage of all those opportunities, because you need those shots on goal again to help to understand how to package it better. So when you have the distribution ready, when your moment's there, you're prepared for it, right? There's that old saying, luck is entirely preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
So you've got to be executing. You have to make, when people talk about making mistakes, launching consistently, taking advantage on podcasts, making a fool of yourself so that you continually learn how to improve the presentation. So when it all comes together and you built the right thing that's to the right audience, you're going to be in the position to really take advantage of it. So just always be focused on that. And I will say the last thing about it is entirely this. None of it's complicated. You look at all the leaders of our businesses, especially the founder leaders that are still in there. Don't look at the CEOs. Look at the founder leaders. Regardless of what you really think of them, they're not the smartest people in the room ever. Mm-hmm. But they're usually the ones that have the willingness to go out and do the cringeworthy things, to put themselves out, them and their products and their ideas out there, and continually try and learn. And that's all that really matters. So from there, you can determine whatever your success is going to be and what you want on it.
Yeah, I remember I've talked about this before with, Henry Ford always said that, if he was the smartest person in the room, he was in the wrong room, or he wanted to always hire people that were smarter than him in other things, so, and look what he was able to do. So awesome. This has been really, really great. I believe we have your personal website, gradyteske.com, where people can go and see all the different things that you have and everything like that.
Yes, and I would say that that would push you to the different offerings that I have. Like I said, I do work as a fractional CMO where we're building larger established companies, usually between the $5 and $20 million space. Rising Tides, the agency, is really built on taking those principles of what are the teams and what are the systems we're using for that scale company, and how do we start from zero. And so the main takeaway is, if you look at Rising Tides, you look at gradyteske.com. And also, I have a newsletter if you want the free version of all of it. My newsletter is basically what me and the team are learning everywhere, applying these practices with clients. And we have diligence around doing that, because we believe that, again, let's make it simple for everybody to do. Our focus really isn't on the results of the launch. It's building a system that becomes a business for you. And anybody can learn and take what we're doing for free. It's just that as a team, I'm trying to build out resources that give you experts that are just doing this all day long, and they can add it to your business. And I'll say that the reason why I built Rising Tides and I started to scale and add these more organizations around me, number one was it helps to have somebody market your business. At the end of the day, I have hired experts to help package me, to improve my content, to make it more deliverable, to make everything more simple. And I highly urge any business owner that wants to step out, you've got to do it yourself, but then bring in and trust the people. Because at the end of the day, especially if you're building the product, the most important part of marketing and sales is aligning your thoughts with the thoughts of the user and how they're doing it. And as business builders, we're often too focused on where is the next step of the business going to how it's actually going to be applied by the end user. So bring on people, take advantage of that. And that becomes a major multiplier for your business. I will just say the last thing is I learned the lesson too late of any product launch. You don't want to overbuild your budget, but the more you can trust in people and you can empower people to drive the messaging and drive that connection for you, the faster you're going to see results, because it becomes less of your idea and more of an idea that's aligned with an audience. Very
good. I feel like we're kind of at the end of Return of the King. We have, last thing.
It's a bad tick of mine. I have to apologize.
That's all right. I'm just busting it for you, man. No, this has been really, really fun. I hope you guys got value out of this. I know I sure did. This has been really an insightful episode. I'm really glad that I had you on here. And I'd love to have you back sometime. So yeah, you guys check out gradyteske.com, Teske. We'll have the link for you in the show notes wherever you're watching this. So check it out. I mean, Ramona's newsletter has really cool stuff. It's very, very useful. It's been very, very insightful. Thank you so much, Grady. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Dan, and to all of you, keep building. You're, like I said, I can't say enough. You guys are my favorite part of the industry, because no code starts into like full code and it builds it out. It all has to start from here. So the simpler people can, and the faster people can create products and launch them, the better off, in my opinion. And that's the era we're in. So let's do it.
100%. And that's a great plug for me to talk about the No Code Advantage series coming out very soon, where we're going to go exactly with what Grady just said. So keep an eye out for that coming in a few episodes here. So that's it for this episode. Thank you all for joining. Really appreciate you. Thank you again for joining, Grady. And go check it out. And we'll see you guys soon in the next episode. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to Tech Bites, your go-to show for software business and technology. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay updated with our latest episodes, insights, and stories. Hungry for more? Dive deeper into the world of no-code by visiting dapnacode.com. Your journey to building amazing software without coding skills starts there. Connect with like-minded creators and unlock a world of resources tailored just for you. Subscribe now. Explore Dapper No Code and let's innovate together.